let's pivot in our last few minutes on the situation here in our country. We are getting very, very close to a potential government shutdown. I definitely want to hear your prediction on that. And I want to know the economic consequences of that. And I also want to know the political consequences. We've got a very important off-year election coming up in 1 year from now. So I want to hear your perspective on that. But before we even go there, let's talk about the budget process itself. It seems for the last, you can correct me on this, 25, 30 years, we have just not had regular order in terms of our budget. It has been a budget of kicking the can down the road. Is that a good thing for our country? I know that you are of the philosophy, your very famous and brilliant statement that you want government small enough that you could drown it in a bathtub. Well, does the fact that we don't have regular order with the budget lead to that, or does it take away from that?
We don't have regular order because the Republicans now win a majority in the House and the Senate. And the Democrats have little power under regular order. The minority has little power under regular order. The Democrats loved regular order when they were in the majority. From 1932 until 1994, 62 years, the Republicans won Congress twice.
48.
Once under Truman,
Right.
once under Eisenhower, right? 62 years, twice they got it.
Essentially a monopoly.
Yes, we had a one-party state. You have a Republican president, great, he can veto stuff until he leaves. And then the Democrats just pass everything they wanted to pass. So the Democrats would have to wait every once in a while. 94, what happened? That's the year after Bush lost the presidency in 92 because he raised taxes, having promised not to.
Right.
And in 94, 96% of Republicans in the House and the Senate signed the pledge never to raise taxes. And they have held that commitment ever since. So since 94, the Republicans have never raised taxes. Taxes only get raised when Democrats are in power, since 94. Well, what happened? Well, since 94, the Republicans won control of Congress for 18 years. Democrats 6. So instead of 4 years out of 62, they have 3 times as often won the House and the Senate. By becoming the party that will not raise taxes, they win more often than not. Okay?
Right.
Well, what does that mean? That means if you go regular order, the Republican chairman in the Senate and the Republican chairman in the House have all this power to pass budgets, and they can outvote the Democrats, and then they take it to the floor and they outvote the Democrats. And the Democrats, only if they can get some Republicans, they get to do anything. So they said, to heck with that. They said, here's what we're doing. We are filibustering everything except a big package at the end, an omnibus. Mm. That's why you get the omnibus. Why? Because then the Democrats go, we will veto, we will shut the whole thing down unless you give us X, Y, and Z. And all we need is 41 votes to have a filibuster. And they've always had 41, okay? They had 51, 52, 53, they had 41. So why did we go from regular order to the other? Is regular order, power flows largely to the majority. As soon as the Democrats ceased being in the majority, the Republicans could have played that game if they'd wanted to. Now, the press would have called them names and said they weren't democratic.
But essentially for the 60 years that the Democrats controlled everything.
One-party state.
And we didn't stop them.
No.
I mean, only occasionally the vetoes.
We couldn't.
With the president.
You could. When you have a president, then you had some power. The president could veto. Boom. And that gave you some leverage. And also when the Democrats under Carter just about destroyed the economy and gave you double-digit inflation year after year, worse than Biden. People don't remember, worse than Biden, 11, 12% inflation year after year, not 8, 9, 10, 12.
And inflation, it was a nightmare, absolutely.
So now we have this. So the Democrats are threatening to shut the government down. When the Republicans threatened to shut the government down with a Democrat president, the Democrats used it, they shut down the national parks and things to irritate people, see how awful it is. And the president did that because when you have a shutdown, the president gets to decide what bills to pay. Mm. And he literally refused to pay for national parks. And you go, oh no, it's so bad that they can't fund the national parks. That was
A PR stunt.
Obama saying national parks. And then the press, the establishment press, dutifully went out and filmed the national parks shut down. I'm sorry. The national parks shut down for 2 months. It's not like they disappear or fall apart or rust. Right?
Yeah, actually, why don't you tell us, there really is no government shutdown from what I understand. What percentage does it really impact?
Well, there's certain cash is coming in, but there's a deficit. So there's maybe 6% of the federal government that you can't fund. So you got to decide what that's going to be. I remember as a Republican activist saying to people, don't shut the government down when Obama's president, because then he has complete control over what he funds and what he doesn't fund. That's not the way to go. And some of them thought, no, that shows we're tough. Okay. Well,
penny wise and pound foolish.
Yes. Now, the D's are going, we're going to shut the government down. And the smarter Democrats are going, means Trump will decide what bills do we pay? Do we send money to National Public Radio? No. Do we send money to this favorite church? I mean, the federal government is still bleeding money to the left, just throwing money to crap that, the left wing. You could say to everybody, we're going to give you 10% less money every state on food stamps, okay? So you decide how to save the money by saying, if you're an able-bodied male, you're not getting food stamps. Go get a job. Go to work, okay? Right. And with that leverage, I don't know that you'd ever open the government again, right? So the Democrats are trying to decide how to react, and Republicans didn't have a good look when they were doing it. And all it takes is one wise guy in the Republican Party back then to go, we're going to shut the government down, yay. And then the press would go, see, the Republicans shut the government down. Even though, in point of fact, the Republicans passed a budget.
Right.
And under Clinton, we passed a budget, the House and the Senate, and Clinton vetoes it. Answer from the establishment press, the Republicans shut the government down. I'm sorry, we passed the budget. Clinton didn't even write a budget. He didn't even pretend to have a budget. And
I forgot that piece.
Oh, yes. So the same thing with Clinton and with Obama. And so now you've got these guys on the Democrat side saying things like, we're going to shut the government down. Yeah. And then what? And they haven't thought that through. I think
Didn't Chuck Schumer kind of agree with your point of view in the last?
He was trying to, he last time he said, don't do this, guys, don't do this. But now
he took a real beating from the far left libs on that.
And we have Republicans who do the same thing on, you're not a tough guy. Be a tough guy. Be stupid. Walk into traffic. It'll be great. You walk into traffic. It'll be great. So here you have the Democrats pushing their leadership into traffic. And I think that Schumer is not an idiot. And Schumer will try and get them to, he's trying to negotiate with, he keeps trying to have the meeting before the shutdown with the Trump. Why? He's hoping to get Trump to agree to something that he can then say,
you take it back to the Democrats, and then not shut it down.
And the answer is never, no, we're not doing that.
Wow.
And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I do think that the crazies in the Democratic Party have put themselves in a corner, again, as the Republicans did years and years ago.
Right.
It's not a wise move. You can mess it up if you have to decide what bills to pay and which ones you don't. But I would rather be holding the Republican cards than the Democrat cards.
Very interesting. What are the economic impacts to the private sector of a government shutdown, or are there any at all?
Well, if by private sector you mean people who actually make a living by working and earning money, not at all. If you mean by private sector people who get grants from the federal government, they would probably be missing a paycheck or two. We shouldn't be writing checks to those structures. There are a lot of NGOs, non-government organizations. Sure. Non-government organization isn't an organization with no ties to the government. It's an organization that gets its money The government steals it from taxpayers, gives it to them.
With no accountability.
With no accountability. There's no government telling them what to do. But the government knows those guys because it's run by some left-wing twit that they used to work with.
Sure.
And so they give them money, and that's the challenge. And that's the challenge. But we could defund a lot of the NGOs, and that would be just fine for the country.
Very good. What are your predictions that this potential government shutdown, and you kind of answered this already, so forgive me for going over it again, but I just want a more direct answer in reference to the off-year elections coming up next year, which are critical because, as you know, if Trump loses the Senate, or maybe even more importantly, the House of Representatives, you can see impeachments coming down the road. You can see all kinds of hearings coming down the road. One might even say that the Trump agenda is going to be stymied for the next couple of years should the Democrats win. How do you think this government shutdown, if it occurs, is going to affect the off-year elections?
It depends how, if Trump plays it well and defunds the structures that build the left and leaves it at that, then I think you could be in a good position to further weaken the left. They shouldn't be getting any money from the government. Political structures should not be getting any money from the government. You should have to raise your own money by asking for it, not having the government steal it. So do that. The big thing that the Trump people can do, and Trump is looking at it, and Treasury Secretary, I know the House and Senate leadership are very big on this idea too, is to end the tax on inflation. Right now, you bought your house here, you could sell it here, but half of that or more is inflation. So you pay this huge tax, but you're paying a tax on capital gains tax on inflation.
You're paying hard money for the tax on inflation, while in the meantime, your profit is inflated money.
Okay. So that's true for selling your house, a farm, a ranch, stocks you had when you were a kid, a few years ago, that's mostly inflation, or a small business that you and your spouse built up. You started from zero with that one, okay? Because it's all is, it's all gain, but how much of that is inflation? You can, by rulemaking, say that the cost that against which you pay taxes is not the historic cost. It's cost plus inflation. So the real gain is here, not here. And that would drop the cost for Americans paying capital gains.
In particular, small businesses.
Yes, very big on small business because it takes a long time to build up a business. To 50, 60, 70% reduction in that tax. That would make it much easier for people to sell their house and move, sell their farm and move or do something else, sell stocks and move them to something else, decide to retire and sell their small business. That would tremendously increase the value of all property in the United States. Every house would be worth more. The AI guys, I tested this with the artificial intelligence people, they said it increased the value of every house by about 20%. The actual real value of a house would go up 20% because you tax it differently. Figure the same thing for your small business and so on. If we could do that this fall from Treasury Department, then people over the course of the next year would do one of two things: either sell their homes or stocks, small businesses, or at a minimum, do the calculation in their head. I will be doing this. I now organize my life around knowing I'm going to do
reinvest.
And I can reinvest. And by the way, I'm voting in November for the guys who did that, not the guys who would try and take it away.
My daddy taught me as a little boy a fundamental of low taxes and the importance of low taxes. He says, Niger, if you're some mega multinational corporation, you've already got all the accountants, you've got all the lawyers to, protect yourself from a high tax regime. Hell, you might even have folk that are influential enough to help write the bills that promote taxes. But if you're a medium, small business, you're the one who gets it in the neck when you have a high tax regime. So the biggest disproportionately, because liberals, whenever they talk about taxes, they say, oh, we want to get the billionaires and we want to get the trillionaires and we want to get, big pharma and big oil and blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, you realize that the folk who really get in the neck when you have a high tax regime are small and medium-sized businesses.
Oh, and most small businesses pay their taxes through the individual rate because they're incorporated as S corps, the pass-throughs. So the guy started the business in his garage, and he didn't go set up a corporate structure. He just paid it normal taxes, and he just kept organizing it that way. The problem is that the personal income tax top rate is higher than the corporate rate. So one of the things that Trump and the Republicans did was reduce that for smaller businesses. We need to take the top rate for individuals down because 3/4 of that is actually hitting small businesses that are growing, not individuals.
And that's critical because when you give regulatory and tax relief to small businesses, it promotes economic growth tremendously. Grover, we could talk for the next 4 hours, my friend, but you've got a busy schedule, so we're going to let you go.
Good to be with you.
Thank you again for joining us. This has been another terrific episode of Niger Innis Presents The Trump Revolution, a part of the TvAbraham network. And I mentioned my father, who Grover knew very, very well, Roy Innis, longtime national chairman, civil rights icon of the Congress of Racial Equality. One of the other things he taught me is that, Niger, you live your life with TLC. And I don't mean tender loving care. I mean truth, logic, and courage. And that is the spirit of Abraham of TvAbraham, and the spirit of Niger Innis Presents The Trump Revolution. Thanks again for joining us, Grover.
Good to be with you.
Until next time, thank you.